Do you ever wonder if you have what it takes to lead? Well, chances are you're probably asking yourself that question because you're probably already there. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 clues that will probably tell you that you are, in fact, already a leader. Hi, welcome back to On the Level Leadership, and we're going to talk about those 5 clues. Now, you may be asking yourself, do I have to be born with leadership capacity or can I learn leadership capacity? Well, I can attest to you that in my degree program, when I did my Master's of Leadership, there were a number of different personalities with different skill sets who came from different backgrounds with different thinking and different mental models that showed up and presented themselves as leaders who learned the same things I learned and who presented perhaps in a different way their leadership, but still nonetheless were and continue to be leaders in their own right today. So yes, you can learn to lead. However, there may already be signs that you are in fact a leader because you're demonstrating some of the personality traits that people identify with leaders. In the words of Sean Cannell, who's a Think Media YouTuber out there, success tends to leave clues, right? And so if you know that success is leaving clues, then what are those clues? Here they are. Do people just kind of randomly show up at your desk and ask for your advice on things? Do they just sort of gravitate to you and want to ask questions of you and maybe ask your opinion about an approach? Or maybe they're struggling with an issue and they really want to come to you to kind of seek your advice on how you would handle the situation? If people are coming to you, then you've clearly demonstrated a certain skill set with respect to empathy, with the ability to listen. You've demonstrated caring, and obviously they see you as somebody maybe who's a little more experienced, maybe a little wiser. Maybe you've walked a path that they haven't walked yet, so you have some experience to offer that they really want to pick your brain about. So if they're coming to you, then there's a pretty good chance that you're the leader in the room. So I have a bit of a story about this. I was a junior nursing consultant with an emergency response organization some years ago, and I had a manager who was a senior nurse. And it was really quite interesting because people would come to me in the mornings and they would either ask me to go for coffee with them, or they'd come and ask an opinion about something, or they'd come and ask me what my schedule was like that day, or they'd have come to ask me a question about some kind of work we were doing. And what was really interesting is after some conversation, this woman turned to me and she said, "You know what, Tammy? I don't know if you realize, but you are the leader of this organization." And I said, "What are you talking about? I'm not the chief. You're my manager. I'm not anything. I'm just a junior nurse." And she said to me, "No, people are coming to you every morning." She says, "I watch it every morning. People walk to your desk. They check in with you. They ask questions. They want you to go to coffee with them. And it's not about being popular. They came with a defined requirement, certain questions, seeking counsel and advice of me." And she says, "They come to you pretty much every day." So she said, "To me, that means you're the leader here. They don't come to see me every morning. They come to see you." So again, ask yourself this. If people are coming to you regularly and they're coming to ask your advice, then chances are you're the leader in the room. The second clue is whether or not people trust you and whether they want to follow you. If you're authentic, you will build trust. And Coos and Posner in the Leadership Challenge do talk about this pretty much at length, that if you model the way and you're authentic in your approach to things, that you will build the trust of the organization and of the people around you. If people are asking you about sensitive matters, it's because they trust you. If they're asking to run an idea by you that maybe has an element of risk, then they trust you. Being trustworthy or authentic is all about clarity of values. It's knowing what your values are and sticking to those values. It's really important as a leader that we demonstrate both our explicit, what we say are our values, and our implicit, how we act out our values. They have to align, those two things. So if you're authentic and you're real and your values are aligned, in other words, you are walking the talk, then guess what? People are going to trust you. So if people are trusting you with information, they're trusting you with asking for advice, they're trusting you with their career choices, then you're a leader, full stop. Another big piece of being a leader, frankly, is followers. You're not a leader if you don't have followers. And there's a really great video actually on YouTube I'm going to link down below that talks about the first follower and more importantly, the second follower and how that makes you the leader. So as a leader, you're willing to kind of put yourself out there and put your neck out, so to speak. But the first followers are the ones that really make you the leader. So do you have people who are willing to follow you, who really, want to be a part of your vision or what it is that you're talking about, whether it's in a meeting, a big conference, whatever the case may be? Are people following you and wanting to actually get behind you on what it is you're saying? And if that's the case, then yeah, you're a leader. The third clue is that you're not only open to suggestions, but you're actually willing to learn. Leaders are always on a learning journey, constantly. We're constantly trying to do things to improve ourselves, to improve our organizations. We challenge the processes, not to be pains in the butts, but because we feel that there's always a better way to do things. Walt Disney, anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge fan of Walt and what he built. And Walt was a big proponent of learning. He was all about taking risks and going, well, I guess that didn't work. And then being willing to course correct and say, well, let's find another way to make this happen. So he understood that. And so being open to suggestions and being open to learning is just part of being a leader. So if you are, in fact, that kind of person already, that's how you're built, guess what? You're probably really great leadership material. Leaders who are open to suggestions are also secure in the notion that they can hire people smarter than them. They don't see smarter people as threats to their leadership. They see them as enablers of their leadership, because leading is about enabling others. And also, let's be honest, if you hire the right people who are super smart and work on a great team, they're going to just make you look good. Like, let's just be honest here. So if you hired a dedicated and talented people, and you are comfortable with that and it doesn't threaten you in any way, guess what? You're likely a leader. Leaders are also willing to take a few critiques.
It doesn't mean that it's easy. I don't like taking critiques. I don't like it when people tell me,
I don't like the way you sound, or I don't like your videos, they suck, whatever. I don't like it. But if the critique is positive in the sense that, hey, you know what, we don't like your lighting, or if your sound was a little bit better, or if your background looked a bit better, which I'm working on, by the way, that's a critique I can say, okay, I can improve. I can use that to positively impact or improve the product or the service I'm delivering. Leaders are willing to do that. They're willing to take a look at these things and say, okay, maybe it's time for me to course correct, right? So again, if you have that flexibility and you're already doing that in your day-to-day style or your day-to-day work or your day-to-day life, then guess what? You're a leader. The fourth piece is you're strategic. What does strategic mean? Strategic just means the ability to look further out and to see the big picture. It's really about understanding the system. It's having a systems approach to how you look at things. It's being able to see the wheel for the spokes or the spokes for the wheel. You understand the components and the pieces and how they all fit together. So again, using Walt Disney as an example here, he saw the bigger piece, he saw the bigger pie, and he would ask people to do things a certain way, and sometimes they wouldn't understand exactly why he was asking them to do it in that way. But it's because Walt had the big picture. He knew, well, if we do this with this particular camera or this with this particular angle, I'm going to be able to use this later. And a perfect example of this actually is there was the Davy Crockett movie actually, when it was on television, was actually in black and white, but he filmed it in color, and people thought he was crazy because at that time television wasn't in color and movies in color were just becoming a thing. And people were saying, gosh, why are you spending all this extra cash, all this extra money recording a movie in color when it's going on TV in black and white? Isn't that a waste of money? And Walt said, no, he saw the bigger picture. He saw the future and understood that color was going to be the way of the future and said, no. We're gonna do this in color, even though it's being shown in black and white on television, because what I'm gonna do is when we're able to do this in the theater in color, I'm gonna piece these programs together, make a movie out of it. It'll already have been shot, and I'm gonna reuse all of it. And that's exactly what he did. And he released it into the movie theater. People had seen Davy Crockett on television for free in black and white, but paid to go see it in the theater in color. So again, if you have the ability to think strategically, then you definitely have leadership qualities within you already. Leaders are quite tenacious, can also be equated to passion, and that passion will pull people in willingly to follow you. So there's a balance though. If you are already adept at balancing your tenaciousness or your passion with aggressivity, so if you're not aggressive aggressivity? That's not a word. Anyway, if your aggressiveness is balanced by assertiveness and you've learned how to balance the two, then you have really great potential to do great things as a leader. Early in my own personal leadership journey, one of the biggest challenges I had was not crossing the line into aggressive behavior. I'm very assertive by nature. I shouldn't say that. I'm actually assertive by nurture. Anyway, I'm very assertive as an individual, and I have to really carefully tread that line of assertion and aggression. And so if you already have this down pat, great. If you don't, that's a skill that we can definitely work on going forward, and keep tuned into these videos, because I'll eventually have more series that talks about that aggression, assertive sort of line and how not to cross it. That is something definitely as leaders we have to learn to do, is learn that balance to be tenacious and passionful, but yet not overstep our bounds, right? And become offensive or too aggressive in our approaches. So think of a situation where you thought of the big picture. Were you able to think of the big picture? Are there times when you could see all the pieces and how all the puzzle fit together? If you're strategic, then you have great leadership potential within you. Leaders are dependable. They're accountable, and they show up when others are afraid to. We tend to be a bit braver maybe than others that might not be leading certain initiatives. Leaders are willing to take a bit of a chance and put themselves out there. Sometimes we're the ones that take on those causes, right? So I'll give you an example. When I was working again in the emergency preparedness realm, this time as a leader of an organization. I was leading a group of about 20 men in an organization at the time. And I remember we had a particular senior executive who was particularly harsh and difficult to deal with, a bit misogynistic, really not an easy man to work with. And turns out later that we found out he had some bullying tendencies with other people in the organization. And I remember one day I was really disheartened by the environment. And I was sort of turned to my colleague or my pod mate at the time and said, I just want to give up fighting. I'm so tired trying to defend our team and our group and trying to fight off this bully in the organization. And I remember she turned to me and said, "But Tammy, if you don't, who will?" And that really struck me, because I thought, holy cow, people depend on me as a leader in this organization to stand up for them in front of this individual. Again, if you're being put in positions where you're being asked to lead, to defend, to show up, then likelihood is you are already seen as a leader in that organization. You have to remember that leadership is about relationship. It's about how you present to the table. It does not depend on your level. It does not depend on your position. Leadership is not positional. Leadership is relational. It's how you treat others and how others see you with respect to the rest of the group. Again, that was a perfect example of how my role at that time was seen by others. I had no idea that I was seen that way. I had no idea that I was somehow defending the little guy in the center, and somehow people were depending on me to continue to show up in that regard because they felt protected by what I was saying at meetings. But again, if you're being asked to handle these complex issues, or maybe a little bit political or a little bit sensitive, then chances are they respect you enough and they depend on you to be there for them and to support them, because leaders protect and enable and inspire. Again, if you're seen in that regard, then you're probably already the leader in your group. So remember that there are many traits that leaders can demonstrate. This is not an exhaustive list. These are 5 clues that told me that I was a leader in my organization. They were things that were demonstrated to me through stories, through conversation, through action, through requests that informed my leadership journey. And I feel that they do align very heavily with Coos and Posner's Leadership Challenge, which, by the way, I have the link for their book down below. If you've not read it, to me, it's mandatory reading for anybody who wants to take on any leadership roles. It's mandatory reading. You have to read the Leadership Challenge. I don't care if you buy a $3 version at a used bookstore. Find yourself a Leadership Challenge book. If you want to go on the link down below, I don't have affiliate status yet, but I'll still put it down there for you because I may have it in the future. So I don't know when you'll be watching this. If you're watching this in the future, it may be an affiliate link, but for now it's not. I just want to put it down there for you so you have access to it. I would encourage you to keep learning and to keep growing in your leadership. If you're already seeing the signs and the seeds are there and people are asking you to step up and lead things, then by all means, accept that challenge and, go for it is what I say. And where you feel you need to continue growing, then reach out to a mentor, a coach. You can come back to this YouTube channel and watch this and learn things along the way. I wish you well on your journey because it is an exciting time when you're able to do that. Thanks for watching this week's installment of On the Level Leadership. I do hope to see you next week. And remember that if you can dream it, man, you can lead it. Thanks again. See you soon.